Hi, welcome back to our series on product recommendations. I'm Patrick Murray, Senior Director of Strategy, and I'm joined today by one of our product managers, Mike Hartman, who will walk you through the platform to show you the product recommendations engine. Today, we're going to continue the series on product recommendations. In the first part, we did an intro to product recommendations and talked about the three pillars. That first pillar being the data that informs the recommendations. Today, we're going to dive into the data that informs the engine that recommends products to your customers. Continuing the series, we'll dive deeper into practical applications for broadcast emails, triggered emails, and then analyzing performance. So what data is most important to your business in the catalog? Well-organized product data is the key to providing relevant recommendations to your customers. This is a scenario where the more data the engine can access, the more precise and relevant the recommendations will be. I personally always recommend that our clients organize their product data to match how people shop on their site. For example, if you sell skincare products, your customers may navigate your site by looking for the problem that the product may solve, whether it's acne, anti-aging, etc., or where they apply the product. Is it on their face? Is it on the body? Or the general product types? Is it a cleanser, a moisturizer, sunscreen, etc.? However, if you sell dresses, your customers may navigate the site by looking for the occasion they're shopping for. Are they looking for a prom dress, a bridesmaid's dress, a cocktail party, or the style of the dress? Is it strapless? Is it a long dress? Is it a short dress, etc.? In these examples, retailers should utilize the full product schema to populate an attribute with an appropriate value, and then utilize meta fields and product tags to help enrich the data that's feeding their recommendation engine. Once all that product data is organized, we can start to configure recipes. And the recipes is a listrak term for the algorithms that we're using to create and return relevant product recommendations for your customers. When creating recipes, it is always important to think about the audience that's going to receive the recommendation. Your strategy may be different for on-site product recommendations than it is for recommendations in email. And within email, it should vary from campaign to campaign. The audience receiving a welcome series email is going to be different than someone that's receiving a shopping cart abandonment or a post-purchase or churn prevention type of campaign. The more information you know about the customer, the more relevant the recommendation should be, and it should vary from campaign to campaign. Similarly, with on-site, the homepage versus a PDP versus a cart page, there's different audiences and different algorithms that should be used to provide the product recommendations. It's also important to note that the base ingredient in the recipes is going to return up to 250 SKUs that meet whatever that base ingredient criteria is, whether it's top sellers, gateway products, purchase this, purchase that, etc. And then additional ingredients should be added to refine that recipe to become more personalized. It's our best practice to use a 3-tiered recipe strategy. Tier 1 should be pretty narrowly focused. Put as much information that you know about that audience or the individual that you're targeting and the specific campaign that you're promoting. Set the ingredient importance to 100% on tier 1 to really refine and narrow that focus. On tier 2, you want to expand that scope, adjust the base ingredients, from maybe top sellers in the last 7 days to top sellers in the last 30 days. Change gateway products to top sellers in the last 30 days to cast a wider net. And then reduce the importance of those additional ingredients from 100% down to 70%, again, to cast a wider net. In tier 3, you want to expand the scope even further with a very small or no importance for those additional ingredients. This way, you can ensure that merchandise blocks don't end up returning empty cells where recs should be populated. So now I'll hand it over to Mike Hartman to continue the conversation around recipes and walk you through the platform a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. I think, that tiered strategy is really a great way for brands to get to the heart of what's most relevant for their customers. So we're going to talk specifics on how we can leverage the power of listrak intelligence and product recommendations so we can dial in the results for some maximum impact in terms of conversions and revenue. So sometimes within other marketing platforms, you might be focused on delivering messages rather than recommending products, and you end up with a few choices, right? Top sellers, new products, or personalized picks. And I think personalized picks are obviously the best choice because they should be the most relevant for a data-driven marketing campaign. But oftentimes, the configuration really stops there. Listrak intelligence really lets those marketers go beyond those basic algorithms to really specify what types of products we want to recommend. This lets us expand beyond their recent history which is, certainly helpful on a product detail page so they can get back to something they were looking at, but it really doesn't help the discovery of new and similar products. Incorporating a shopper's personal preferences rather than kind of the wisdom of the crowds drives a significant uptick in engagement. And I'll show you how we can do that in a few. And as Patrick mentioned, different scenarios warrant different algorithms. So, for example, an order confirmation email might include other products customers bought after buying what they just purchased. The bought this, bought that. But for a product abandonment campaign, we might want to showcase similar products or ones that other shoppers viewed in the same session as viewing that product that they abandoned. Okay, so let's head into the platform and see how we can take more granular control over the products that are being recommended to our customers. Okay, so first, let's go back to the basics. Last time I mentioned global ingredients, right? So those are always present. You can apply them to any recipe that you create. You can turn them off for special cases, but they're really best used for things like making sure something's in stock, making sure we're not recommending things like gift cards or things that they were recently purchased or recommended. So those are a really handy tool to make sure that we're consistently applying our brand logic to all of our recipes. So let's get more into the configuration. I mentioned last time, we have all of these kind of base ingredients and then these modifying ingredients. I'm going to show you how they work. So if we dig into the base, these are the starting points, right? So there, as Patrick was saying, as I was just saying, there are different scenarios and certain algorithms make more sense than others. So in a purchase follow-up, you might want to use the bought this, bought that, or purchase this, purchase that algorithm that uses more the wisdom of the crowds, right? It's called co-occurrence, and we're recommending things that naturally have a connection based on other people's behavior. If they viewed something and abandoned a product, you might want to show similar products, such as this algorithm here, or maybe you viewed this, viewed that, or viewed this, purchased that. So we have a whole bunch of these. We've got frequently bought together gateway products, which I think Patrick mentioned around things that your newest customers typically buy. And of course, there's some other ones that are more basic, like a what's new or a top sellers, maybe even trending products that have a bit of a time element to it, what's hot right now. For the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to stick with the purchase this, purchase that. I got about a dozen of those basic algorithms, but now we're going to get into modifying the base results, which is what we have over here for this specific shirt. It's a Nike shirt. So we see things like Nike shirts, shorts, joggers, socks, even a couple oddballs like a camping stove and a wagon. So what we want to do maybe is I'm going to go through and just cover a few of these. We've got some general ingredients. I called these out last time where we can say, I want to show a different brand or a different category. I want to make sure that there's at least so many in stock, or I want to promote things that are the same, maybe gender of clothing or the same style or color. So you can get very specific with these, even down to specific product attributes. If you're selling things like phone accessories and you're sending us which model of iPhone or Pixel it fits, we can get to that level with specific product attributes. Pricing allows us to get into profit margin. If you're sending us your cost, we can make sure that we're recommending products that are in a similar price range. I'll talk through that. And then personalized ingredients allow us to get to that individual level, right? So the person first marketing approach is going to take a person's preferences, their behaviors, and feed that into the algorithm so that we give them the best results we can. So getting into showing you how this works, right? So we have, Patrick mentioned, 100%, 70%, whatever it might be, to make sure that we're delivering a reasonable set of products, but still maintaining relevancy. So you'll see if in the case where I have, let's say I want to do something where I'm showing products that are in the same category. You can see based off of the bought this, bought that, we've got a variety of products, but maybe this is in the category apparel. We've got these camping type gear things. I want to make sure that they're kind of pushed down in the results. And you'll see things like socks, camping gear, they get pushed down in the results and all the apparel goes up to the top, just based on adding some importance to that category. Now, if I wanted to do something like promote complementary products, right? You'll see there's a lot of shirts in here. They just bought a shirt, so maybe we should recommend more socks and shorts and joggers. By that, we can add in different subcategory and increase the importance here. And you see the shirts get pushed down in the results and the apparel stays at the top. And we can combine these too. And you can see things like the non-apparel getting pushed down and the shirts getting pushed down with everything else bubbling up to the top. I do want to mention backup products as well. You'll notice that there are some shirts and apparel that are showing up in the results. That's because we have a backup set as a recipe. One of the interesting things that we can do with listrak intelligence and product recommendations is not just fill in the gaps with new products or top sellers, because oftentimes they may not be as relevant. They just may be what new product was released this week. We have the ability to set your backup ingredient, which can be a recipe that you have some logic built in. Of course, it can be any of those other base algorithms that we had, what's new, top sellers. But I would say we want to recommend you use a recipe as a backup so that we can retain that relevancy. Anyway, I want to talk about the pricing ingredient here. So, sometimes people have some call it an AUR, an average unit retail, where they're buying things in a certain price point. So what we can do in the results here, we have that pricing ingredient. I have it configured to be within 20% of the reference product. So this shirt is $25. You'll see, there's a shirt there that's 25. There's some shorts that are 50, joggers that are 65. If I start to increase the importance of this, it's going to push the more expensive products further down and bring the shirts that are 25 bucks up to the top, right? So we're getting relevant with the price point based off of behavior of what they're looking at, what is maybe in their cart. And then lastly, I wanted to touch on that personalized aspect. So this is just more for a product detail page where maybe we're looking at this product or I just bought this product. When we expand out to the customer view, here we can look at what would be recommended for this customer based on their activity as a whole. In this case, this customer bought 2 pairs of cleats and a pair of gloves. When that gets fed into this algorithm, you're going to see gloves, shin pads, backpacks, more cleats, more gloves showing up. But because this person bought 2 pairs of cleats, their preferred category is going to be footwear. So again, we can overlay this personalized option into the results, and it'll take their personal preferences, and you'll see things that are in the footwear department, socks and cleats and shoes, get pushed up to the top, while the gloves and shin pads get pushed down to the bottom. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of how we can really leverage the data that's in the product catalog, things like category, price, style, color, and even custom attributes to drive the results in product recommendations. So that's all I have for us today. I want to thank you all for sticking with us and watching. We're going to have another episode coming out soon to cover another area of listrak intelligence with product recommendations. So make sure you check it out. Thanks again.